What up, everyone? What's going on? Welcome to my top 10 favorite killer animal movies. Emphasis on the word favorite, not best. These are just the ones that I find the most enjoyment out of. And this list will not be including any killer shark movies. That is my favorite subgenre of this subgenre. They're my favorite type of killer animal movies. I could do an entire top 25 list on those. I've seen so much. So it's going to be its own video at some point, probably more around Shark Week if I were to plan it out. And I didn't include any fictional or extinct creatures on this list. That's why you won't see anything like Deep Rising, which I'm a big fan of, or Leviathan, or even Jurassic Park. I wanted it to be modern, real animals that could actually kill you. Before we begin, be sure to go down to the comments and let me know what your top 10 favorite killer animal movies were, or even just a couple of them, and see where we agree and see where we differ. And I do have one honorable mention, and that is Alligator from the 1980s with Robert Forster. I absolutely love that movie. It is just a fun alligator in a sewer type movie. Just a cheesy 80s cult classic that I've always enjoyed. I just already had quite a few alligator and crocodile movies on this list, and I didn't want half the list to be just those types of movies. So let's just get this started at number 10 with Snakes on a Plane. Certainly not a great movie on any technical level, but a B-level genre flick that knows what it is, and it succeeds in bringing the entertainment. If you expected anything else out of a movie called Snakes on a Plane, then that just seems to be on you. You got Samuel Jackson in the lead role as this FBI agent, and he's an absolute blast. He's surrounded by a great supporting cast that's just kind of absurd, especially when you look at, like, Kenan Thompson as this rapper's bodyguard who ends up saving the day because he played a lot of flight simulators on PS2. It's just ridiculous, it's stupid, and it is very enjoyable. Even the whole concept of this guy witnesses a murder by this crazy mob boss, and his plan to take out this witness is to just load this plane with highly aggressive killer snakes and hope it just takes down the plane. It's stupid as fuck, but it's entertaining beyond any right that it had to be. This is just a fun thrill ride. It's not Oscar-worthy or deep entertainment by any means, but it's a movie that knows what it is, it has fun with it, and I can have a good time anytime I decide to throw this movie on. At number 9, we have Crawl, the most recent addition to this list. You have a young woman and her dad trapped in a house during a raging hurricane by an angry pack of alligators. It's a simple concept, but as I've said countless times before, I love these close-quarter, bottleneck, pressure cook type movies. And while it doesn't add anything new to the genre, I do think it does well enough in every aspect that it is just an enjoyable time. It's thrilling, it knows to continuously add new threats and predicaments for our characters to get stuck in, where it doesn't feel like this boring, repetitive movie where they're just dealing with the same thing every time. There's constantly a new element added in. It's not gory, and I definitely could have used a few more good kills, but I think the kills with the cops as well as with the looters are really well done. Alexander Aja, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, he just makes these kick-ass, contained horror thrillers. I haven't necessarily loved everything he's done, but I think he's done really well with everything he's done. This is just an easy-to-digest popcorn thrill ride that has more than enough going on that it's well worth the time. At number 8, we have Anaconda's The Hunt for the Blood Orchid. Now, I've reviewed this movie, I've done a ranking on the entire franchise, so I'm hoping maybe after this I can kind of take a break from talking about any of these Anaconda movies for a little bit. But this, to me, is just an underrated monster jungle adventure romp. It is so much fun. You've got these pharmaceutical researchers who have to go on this expedition through the jungles of Borneo to find this mythical flower that can unlock the longevity to life. And this is easily just the best in the Anaconda franchise. It's got cliche characters. It's got a fairly predictable set of events that occur throughout the movie. But I think it does really well, especially better than you would expect for a standalone sequel in the Anaconda franchise. This is actually my favorite Killer Snake movie, and it is one that fully embraces the best qualities. It's just a solid time with some good thrills. At number 7, we have Eight-Legged Freaks, a horror comedy about big killer spiders that take over a small mining town starring David Arquette. I've always loved this movie. I first saw it when I was like 9 or 10 years old, thought it was a blast. I've always been a big fan of the Scream franchise, and Dewey's always been my favorite character from that franchise, so I would watch anything that David Arquette is in. And he's a lot of fun here, too. You got young Scarlett Johansson in here, and she does well. I like a lot of the townsfolk cast, for the most part. I like the cave mine sequences and the setting of that. It has some of that bad early 2000 CGI, but it's passable enough here. It doesn't distract from the movie too much for me. It's not meant to be anything serious. It's just trying to be a fun time with some decent laughs and a little bit of thrills, and I think it succeeds in both of those areas. I like my monster movies to be nice on the monster mayhem and not too heavy or depressing, which some of them sometimes go for. This one is just a lighter time, and it is a lot more rewatchable and entertaining. Despite what I just said about movies being heavy, at number 6 we have The Ghost in the Darkness. You got Val Kilmer as an engineer and Michael Douglas as a big game hunter who have to team up to stop a pair of man-eating lions who are killing people trying to construct a railroad. This is based on a true story. I don't know the extent of which that it actually sticks to the true story, but this is just a fantastic movie. It's got so much tension and so much suspense. It's a lot higher quality than a lot of these other killer animal movies tend to be. It's well directed and well made. It's just not one of the ones that I tend to go to rewatch as often as the others on this list. That's why it's not quite as high. But this is really good. Both the actors are great, the atmosphere's great, the setting is great. It's got some really tense moments. The effects are really well done. This is just a great movie that I never hear mentioned enough. At number 5, we have The Edge, a great action survival thriller with Alec Baldwin once again being this rich, eccentric genius. This time he just doesn't happen to eat people. This has just got some interesting characters with some great performances and a very intriguing setting. You have Anthony Hopkins, as I mentioned. You have Alec Baldwin as this kind of sleazy photographer who seems to be in love with Anthony Hopkins' wife, so Hopkins starts to believe that he is plotting to kill him so he can be with his wife. And they end up getting into a plane crash in Alaska when their plane hits a flock of birds. They are looking for civilization and survival, but they are being chased by a man-eating bear. So you've got this great element of them trying to band together while there's a lot of distrust going on at the same time, wondering if someone's trying to sabotage you into a potentially fatal situation. This is just a really well done and suspenseful thrill ride. I would highly recommend it if you've never seen it. At number 4, we have Rogue, a killer alligator or crocodile movie. I think it's actually crocodiles. No, it's definitely crocodiles. Directed by Greg McLean, who is probably best known for, especially at the time, for Wolf Creek. It's about an American travel journalist who is on a river tour through the outbacks of Australia. When the tour guide is responding to a potential SOS situation, they realize that they strayed way too far into bad territory and are attacked and marooned by a giant killer crocodile. And the island that they are trapped on is actually going to be submerged as the tide comes in, so there's this ticking time element of you not only trying to not get killed by the crocodile, but you need to figure out a way to get from where you are across. Not a super long distance, but you have to go in the water, so... And I love the ticking time clock aspect of this movie. It adds such a endangering element to it. I like how smart they make the crocodile. It almost seems like he's more clever than the people he's hunting. It's got some good kills and some great suspense throughout. You got Radha Mitchell. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. I suck at pronunciation if you guys couldn't tell. She was a big... I wouldn't say like a huge name actress, but she popped up in a lot of genre flicks, especially from like the late 90s to like the early 2010s, mid 2010s. Most people might know her from as Fry from Pitch Black or the Silent Hill movie. I think she's great here as the kind of lead. I forget the guy's name, but the guy who plays the American journalist also does really well. You've got a young Sam Worthington, pre-Avatar here. He does really well. He's kind of like the dickhead of the movie, but they thankfully don't go too far into like douchebag territory. This is definitely more about the tension and the thrills and the kills, but there is some good character moments going on throughout. There's a bit of an eclectic thrown together cast of these tourists who are just going for the scenery expedition. It's just a tension-filled, tight-knit, bottleneck thriller that I feel like is criminally underseen. At number 3, we have The Grey. I am a big fan of Liam Neeson, especially after his career resurgence as an action star, and now hopefully more recently as a comedy star with things like The Naked Gun. But this is by far my favorite movie with him, at least post-action reinvention. Much like The Edge, this movie follows a group of survivors after a plane crash in the Alaska wilderness, but this is a lot more in the barren, icy, snowy mountains. And it's oil workers, not rich people this time around. And I love the cast and the characters and the performances we're all given here. Frank Grillo is great here as kind of like the main human antagonist, but he's never a flat-out villain who's trying to like sabotage people or anything. He's just kind of a scared, loudmouth dickhead. Liam Neeson is great here as a man who is potentially considering suicide after the tragic death of his wife, and considering how close in time-wise this was filmed after his real-life tragedy with his wife, Natasha Richardson. This movie must have really struck home for him, and you can tell in the performance. It is fantastic. I like the journey aspect as they try and reach civilization before this killer pack of wolves takes them out one by one. I think every character is given something to help them be more relatable, and it works. The performances help a lot. It has a great ending and a great post-credit sequence. This is just an absolute thrill ride. I need to find a better term than just keep saying thrill ride for all of these movies. But this is an excellent survival thriller. If you're a Liam Neeson fan, if you like killer wolves, if you like survival expeditions, people trying to escape from the wilderness and get help, then you definitely need to check out this movie. At number 2, we have the most fun killer alligator or crocodile movie ever made, and that is Lake Placid. I totally get people who view this more as a comedy than a horror because it is very heavy on the laughs, but I think this is just a great monster flick with a great sense of humor. And the cast and characters are what make this movie really work. You got Bill Pullman as this small-town game warden. You got Bridget Fonda being charming as this bitchy big city girl who can't stand the wilderness life. And the back and forth between Oliver Platt as this, like, crocodile mythology historian guy and Brendan Gleeson as the small-town sheriff. Their banter back and forth is just absolutely hilarious. I love their chemistry. Those probably provide the most laughs of the movie, on top of Betty White as this foul-mouthed, take-no-shit grandma who's actually been raising the crocodile. This movie is just a blast all around. I love the jokes, I love the characters, the setting. I think it has great effects going on, and it's a simple story of people trying to stop this killer crocodile before it eats more people, but it is effective. It's a movie that knows how to entertain with both a lot of laughs and some really good thrills, and it is always a really fun time. And speaking of fun killer animal movies, I can't think of one that I have a more enjoyable time with than my number 1, Arachnophobia. An 80s classic from Amblin Entertainment that came out when they were at their absolute apex. You got Jeff Daniels, who is deathly afraid of spiders. Him and his family move to this small rural town where, unbeknownst to them, a rare breed of killer spiders is setting up shop in their barn. And this is just the perfect blend of comedy and entry-level horror that gives you some thrills and some excitement without being overly gory or mean-spirited. It's just such a kick-ass movie. You got Jeff Daniels, who's always great, but the standout of this movie is easily John Goodman as the oddball exterminator Delbert. He's so weird, but it's such a memorable character, and he's not even in it for that much, but every time he's on screen, you can't look away. I love the characters. I love the nostalgia this movie gives me. I love the humor. I love the thrills that it provides. Obviously, it's not super gory or overly intense, but if you have even a little fear of spiders, this movie will find a way to get under your skin. I'm not even afraid of spiders, and it gets me in a couple spots every time. If you're looking for a killer animal flick that can provide a really fun time and is insanely rewatchable, what better than my childhood classic? It just never feels outdated or out of place. And that's it for me today. Thank you all for watching. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe. Once again, go down to the comments and let me know what you think of my list. Let me know what your list is. Maybe you know of some hidden gems that I've just never heard of and I would die to check out. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later in the week. Stay safe.